Live from Honolulu, Hawaii, it's Baptiz by Fire. And here's your host, Justin Baptiz.
Welcome back to another episode of Baptiz by Fire, Conversations with Justin, where we dive into the stories, struggles, and triumphs of our incredible guests. And I'm your host, Justin Baptiz. And we are here with a very special guest, one of the best in the business. If you know college sports, you definitely know the Oregon Ducks, one of the top offensive linemen out of the Oregon Ducks football family, and had a great successful years in the NFL playing for the Detroit Lions. It's a pleasure to have here with me former Oregon Ducks, Detroit Lions offensive lineman Tyrell Crosby.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing, my friend? I see you're over there in Hawaii right now. You're over there in Maui. So I definitely got to ask, how is your first time experience in Maui? And, are there any favorite things that you've done so far?
It's going really well. It's my first time out here, and it's blown me away. The beauty, the culture, and the people are just unbeatable. So far, my favorite things has to have been eating. The food has been unreal. A lot of pork, which is great for me because I love it. And just honestly, just driving around and seeing the natural beauty here it's been awesome.
Now, I know for you, you've been playing football for quite some time. We were mentioning earlier about just the Pacific Islanders and the West Coast and whatnot. And, since being in Hawaii and embracing the spirit, in your playing days of football, you've had a chance to play with a lot of the locals, meaning Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders, as teammates on the West Coast, including the NFL. What's that been like for you?
It's been really interesting for me. I mean, I grew up in Vegas, so we have like the Liberty High School where there's a ton of Hawaiians that go there. And so I've kind of been around the culture a lot. One of my best friends growing up was from Honolulu. His name's Royce Ayers. But to actually see it, it's just been awesome. And to really like be around that culture, for me, it's awesome. And I'm really enjoying being here.
You're in Maui, Hawaii. Obviously, you play with a lot of the locals from Honolulu, Hawaii. And I know that that's the spot that you're coming out to next, being on Oahu and Honolulu.
Yeah.
But talk about, playing with Jelani Tavai and Leo Kilo Matangi. Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but what was it like playing with some of those guys?
Some of the most selfless teammates you could ever ask for. Both of them are just great football players, better humans. Jelani, I remember not his freshman year, but his rookie year coming in. I think he was our third round pick, maybe, or second round pick. And he had a lot of expectations being a higher draft pick like that. And he just took it in stride. Whatever challenges Patricia or the defense threw at him, he just accepted it and was like ready for it. Leo, I remember there was one day, I can't remember what was going on, but he knew I liked to cook. He was like, hey, I know you like to cook. Do you want to make me some dinner? I was like, screw it. Yeah, why not? Because with Leo, I remember he was always been huge helping me learn the offense. He's a very smart football player. And so he knew I like to cook. And so one day I was like, hey, do you want something? And he's like, yeah, I know you like to cook. Can you make me something? So I ended up making him an entirely homemade lasagna, like the pasta was homemade, everything. Just as a thank you, because he was just so selfless with his willingness to stay after practice to help me learn the offense, after meetings to kind of hang out with me and just teach me the offense. And so those, especially Leo, my rookie year, was a huge part of me learning that playbook and being able to succeed.
Now for you, you were born in Bountiful, Utah. It's north of Salt Lake City, Utah. So I got to ask you, what's it like being from there, with the football landscape, and then moving to Henderson, Nevada at the age of 6, which ultimately led you to playing at Green Valley High School?
Yeah, growing up in Utah, being born in Utah, and then I grew up a little bit there. But I would always frequently go back. Most of my family's still out there in that Bountiful, ish area, Salt Lake area. It is interesting. I mean, big community there is LDS, and that being said, there's a lot of Polynesians that go into that Salt Lake Valley area. which is awesome. But it's a unique thing for me. And for me, I'm glad I moved to Vegas, just a lot more diverse there. And it allowed me to be around a lot of different cultures and just not be so much in a bubble. And I felt like it really helped me grow into being like the teammate I was, because I was one of the few people that, whether it was in high school, college, or NFL, I was very comfortable walking into any position room and just fitting right in. Um, there was when I was on the Lions, they had like a photo of me in the tight ends room just for fun because I was always in there bugging them. Um, College was the same thing, and I remember my first thing when I left to Detroit was I got like the defensive lineman a massage chair for their position room. Same with the linebackers. Um, Honestly, I thought about the O line last, uh, just because I always got along with every group really well, and I feel like that kind of stems back to moving to Vegas, and just Vegas is very much it's a melting pot, and so it really carried over to me being able to just walk in rooms and feel comfortable, regardless of the people's backgrounds or where they're from, things like that, and I think also football helped with that because going to schools like Oregon or playing in the NFL, you have guys from all over the country. For me, like Oregon, we had our quarterback my freshman year, Mariota from Hawaii, but we also had a bunch of guys from Florida. We had guys from New York, and just all throughout the country. And that's one of the things that I truly love about football is it allows people from all different backgrounds to come and be united to go get that win.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned about being born in Utah, going to Vegas. What's the differences and just the similarities of just the football culture there? I want to go back to your football playing days when you first, you started at the age of 6 playing football. What was your first experience, and when did you realize that you wanted to do this for your career?
Yeah, so I remember I was an angry kid. I mean, parents got divorced, moved to a whole new city, and I was just an angry child that my mom wanted to really just get me out of the house because I was destructive. I had a lot of anger issues growing up, and she thought the best thing to do was get me out of the house. So if I'm going to get angry, it's not inside the house and I'm not breaking anything. So yeah, she threw me into football, and it was something I pretty much immediately fell in love with. I remember the first team I played for was I can't remember the league's name, but I played on the Falcons, and just kind of never turned back since. It was so much fun, and honestly, the hard part was I never thought I was gonna like make it. I really just took it as I'm taking it one step at a time. So my first offer was UNLV, and that one was a unique offer because it was my first one. I didn't quite know what was happening. Um, I was with one of my friends who his older brother was the UNLV kicker at the time, Nolan Cohorst, and we were at the San Diego UNLV game in San Diego. So my friend's dad and I went to go see Nolan pregame in their team hotel, and the UNLV's head coach saw me in the lobby, and he's like, "Are you Tyrell Crosby?" And I was like, "Yeah." It's like, "Oh well, congrats, you have an offer from UNLV." And so I was, I think, a sophomore, junior at that time. And I kind of just looked to my friend's dad. I was like, "What just happened?" Because I had no idea what was going on. And he's like, "Oh, you just got a scholarship offer." And so his dad was a huge role model of mine because he played O-line at UNLV. And he kind of was the first, like, "Hey, you keep at this, you can go to college for free." So it was really fun to have him there for that experience. But I was just like, I didn't know how to respond, honestly. I just said thank you. And then we saw my friend Nolan, and then ended up watching that game. But then I want to say a week after that or 2 weeks after that, Oregon called with their offer. And back in that time, it was much more selective with the offers. Now everybody's getting offered. But it was at that moment, I was like, I'm pretty sure this is a school I want to go to. Was still a little bit reserved on committing. Me with my Utah background was still like considering if Utah offered, I might go there. And eventually Utah did offer me, which I'm still in contact with the guy who offered me there. He's now, I want to say, the defensive coordinator or special team coordinator for BYU, Coach Jay Hill. But yeah, Utah called and went on an Easter to go visit family. And since I was there, I was like, I'm going to go do it unofficial to Utah. At that time, they were still doing their facilities. So I got to kind of see the ground level of all their new facilities, which they were amazing. The coaching staff was phenomenal. But ultimately, I was like, do I want to be this close to family, or do I want to kind of get away a little bit and really challenge myself to grow as a person and a football player? And so when I took my unofficial visit, my junior year to Oregon, just realizing the distance was perfect. That area was amazing. At that time, the coaching staff was very stable. It's like, this is where I want to spend my next few years, go to school, and then hopefully pursue an NFL dream. And for me, it really worked out.
Yeah, before we get into, your college career at Oregon, I did want to mention this because I found that this was actually pretty cool about your career. You ranked second in the state with 16.2 rebounds and 4.8 points through the first 18 games of the season when you were back in high school playing basketball, right?
Yeah, so that one was really funny. I've never been a huge basketball player, but my high school's head coach, Coach Jarvis, who's one of the most amazing humans I've ever been around. He was my brother's coach in high school, and my brother's 5 years older than I am. And so my first 2 years in college or in high school, he was just suddenly like, "Hey, you should come play football." And I'm like, "No," or come play basketball. My apologies. And I was like, "No, that's winter was like my off season because summer and fall were strictly football, and then spring would be track and field because I threw discus." And so I was just like, I want winter to just be a normal high school kid. And then finally, junior year came, and I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to try it. Immediately fell in love with my junior year. I sucked. It was my first time ever playing organized basketball. I was just truly the football player on the basketball court. And then my senior year, that whole summer, I was doing 6 in the morning football that went till like 10:30, 11, and then 11 to 1 was just basketball, and that was my entire summer. It was 6 to 1 doing sports, um, and so I really trained hard to like kind of be actually able to play because my junior year I didn't play that much, and so I really committed because I hated sitting on the bench, and I'm just a competitive person. So definitely took a huge step my senior year, and then yeah, I will say like half those rebounds were what is it, me bounds, like the Angel Reese thing. Half of them were probably my own miss, but it was just so much fun to actually be on the court and actually be of use to the team. And I want to say, I don't know how accurate this is, but apparently the reason I didn't get All State for basketball was because I wanted to give it to actual basketball players and not the football player playing basketball. But yeah, I was kind of frustrated to see the first guy who outranked me for rebounds because I'm like, I know how much I was getting the game. There's no way he's getting more, and somehow he was. But props to that guy. But it was a lot of fun to just really challenge myself in something new.
Do you think that if football wasn't the sport that you would have chosen, that basketball would have been the ultimate dream for you?
Yeah, honestly, basketball is so much more fun to me. Um, Playing basketball, I tell this to so many people, like it's a lot more fun to play than football. I mean, football is who I am. Like that was what I've been doing. It's what I'm great at, and I've truly enjoyed it. But basketball as a whole, and a lot of guys I know through like college and pros love playing basketball. And it's definitely if I didn't have an offer or the ability to play at the next level, I think it was like two JUCO offers for basketball. That when they offered me, I was like, I might do that. But ultimately stuck with football.
Now, getting to your college career, University of Oregon is the college choice that you chosen for your career, and you definitely have rose to the occasion at the University of Oregon. You've had offers from Utah, UNLV, and I'm sure a lot of other colleges. But when you think about your success at the University of Oregon, you played there from 2014 to 2017, which led you to have success in your senior year, winning the Morris Trophy and getting the first team all Pac-12 conference honors. You did not allow a quarterback sack or a hit all season, and you were a big part of Oregon's 3,263 rushing yards, which was gained in 2017. Finished the 2017 season ranked 12th in the FBS, averaging 251 yards rushing per game. What can you say about your college career at Oregon and what led you there?
So when I was on my unofficial visit, just being in Eugene was so neat. It was awesome. It was my first time there, and the HDC, which is their facility, Hatfield Downland Complex, wasn't quite built yet, but it was in the process. So I got to like walk around the whole construction zone, kind of seeing everything, and just being in that city made me realize like this is where I can see myself happy at. And the football team was really good at that point, and so the football aspect wasn't so much a question. It was if I'm going to actually enjoy my time there, and just being there, I realized I would. So I pulled Coach Greatwood aside, who was my recruiter, and he was the O-line coach for my first 3 years there. And I was like, hey, this is where I want to be. And had no clue what I was doing, but I was like insinuating, like, hey, I'm going to commit. And eventually he caught on that I wanted to commit. So he pulled me into the building or into the room with all the other staff. I was like, hey, this guy has something to say. And it kind of just threw me on the spot. And so I told the staff that I wanted to commit. And I was our longest commit of my class. And yeah, which that transitioned into my freshman year. At the time, we had two tackles that were phenomenal. Jake Fisher as left tackle. No, Jake Fisher was our right tackle. And then Tyler Johnstone was our left tackle. In training camp, Tyler got hurt and Jake bumped over to left. And so for me, I was like, okay, that gives me a little bit of more opportunity to play as a true freshman. Knowing Oregon, they don't play many true freshmen online, but I was like, this is my opportunity. And so we go into our first game, and at this time, I'm backing up both tackles. I'm our backup left and backup right tackle, and we're playing. I want to say it was South Dakota State. So it was a game where the starters are only playing the first half, and then second string go in and kind of just prove yourself. And I remember my first play going in, I was like, all right, let's make it a fun one. They called a wide zone to my side. And I remember just my first play, I just buried the guy. And it went for I think it was like a 40 or 50-yard touchdown right behind me. And unfortunately, Byron Marshall, our running back, decided to drop the ball on like the half-yard line, which was so frustrating because he just dropped it early. I mean, it was an easy touchdown. But my first play, I drove a guy back 8-10 yards and then just put him on his back for a touchdown. And it was one of the coolest feelings. And that's when I was like, all right, just believe in yourself. And that following game was the Michigan State game where it was a top 10 matchup. Once again, I was kind of just backing up both our tackles. And at that time, they had Marcus Rush on one side and then Shalik Calhoun on the other, which they were both really two dominant DNs at that time. And I want to say either in the second quarter, I want to say, our right tackle, Andre, broke his leg. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, you have a top 10 matchup against two top 10 DNs. You're getting thrown in as a true freshman to play the rest of this game. And you're blocking for a future Heisman winner. Have fun. And for me, it was like, all right, I was insanely nervous going that walk from the sideline to the huddle. But ultimately, as soon as I stepped on the field and like kind of got my stance, I was like, I'm out here for a reason. The coaches want to put me out here if they didn't think I could handle it because their jobs are on the line if I play bad. And so I really just never turned back since then. Ended up doing really well. I don't think I gave up a sack. I'm pretty sure I didn't. But I just remember that moment of like, this is your time to really just take this opportunity and run with it. And so, yeah, I ended up finishing my true freshman year, playing in the national championship, going against Joey Bosa, who was a future number 3 pick overall, gave him no sacks against him, and just really hit that in stride.
That's awesome, man. Now, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on the new Pac-12 conference?
Oh, so yeah, that one's it sucks because I mean, my name is in the history books for the Pac-12. And I was a part of the Pac-12 alumni committee of just former players and former coaches in the Pac-12. We all had a little subcommittee and we'd go report to the Pac-12 commissioner. And through that whole journey, when USC and UCLA first made claims they might leave the Pac-12, is really annoying because the commissioner at the time was giving us a lot of reassurance like, oh, no, they can't do that. This is not going to happen. We have an amazing TV right still, things like that. And he was like telling it to our faces. And so as he was like the ultimate guy in the Pac-12, so we're like, okay, like let's believe him. He knows more than we do. And then to kind of slowly see the dominoes fall was really heartbreaking for me because I do love the Pac-12 so much. And just kind of seeing it slowly dissolve and just like, dang, I put so much effort into like trying to keep this afloat. Like, us as a group really tried to keep it a lot. Like, we put a lot of effort trying to keep the Pac-12 afloat, figuring out ways to make sure the Pac-12 stayed together. But ultimately, things happened and it didn't go that way. So I think the best case scenario with something like that happening did happen with a lot of the Pac-12 joining the Big Ten, and just having that Big Ten is a huge thing, both academically and sports-wise. It now is easily the most competitive conference, in my opinion. And then the really neat thing about joining the Big Ten is, on the academic side, is each school now has access to each of the other each of the other Big Ten schools' libraries, which I didn't think was like that cool of a thing until I really processed it. And I was like, that makes it one of the largest libraries in the U.S., if not the world. Of now schools can use one another's libraries, and I thought that was really cool. And that's something I didn't know before Oregon's President Schultz, told me. I was like, oh, that's a really cool thing.
That's awesome, man. Well, it is definitely a different time in college football, but the Pac-12 is definitely one of the world's and well-known conferences in college football. Speaking about college football, you protected quarterback Marcus Mariota in his senior year, which was your freshman season.
Yeah.
And you also protected Justin Herbert back in college for your last 2 years. What can you say about those individuals, and who was your favorite? What's the difference or similarities between the two?
Yeah, so I mean, Marcus is Marcus, one of the nicest humans. Also really funny because his mom is one of the most terrifying people I've ever met, but she's the nicest human. Yeah, Marcus was soft spoken, but like you could just tell in his eyes, like that dude meant business, and he loves to win. And so yeah, my freshman year, I was still, me being a freshman, I knew who Marcus was. There's oftentimes I was a little bit timid to be by him because who he was, but I still remember the Pac-12 championship game, and that season we had lost prior to Arizona, and it was a heartbreaking loss, and everyone was a little bit on edge in the night before as we were going through all the plays and like last minute adjustments and things like that. And so I remember sitting down in our chair because we'd line up the chairs as kind of like in the offense. So there's like 5 chairs as a whole line, and everyone would sit down and you'd kind of just do a clap session of, we hear the play, the defense lines up, and then we just like, so we all clap and kind of point to what we do. And as we're like starting that, all of a sudden I feel like someone massaging my back. I was like, what's going on? And I look back. I was like, oh, it's Marcus. And it's like, he kind of just told me, he's like, don't worry, you can do great. I believe in you. And kind of having that, like hearing that from the starting quarterback. And at that time, I want to say he may have won the Heisman at that point or just right after. But hearing that, it was just like, this dude believes in you. You need to believe in yourself regardless of anything. It was really cool. And it was like that little motivation of like, I got this. And then we ended up blowing out Arizona. I mean, I don't think I played in the – I didn't even play in the fourth quarter. They had me start at right tackle the second half, or they took out a left tackle. I moved over to the left tackle for the start of the second half, and then only played that third quarter. So it was so much fun to just all of us were really anxious going into that game, and then it unfolded the way it did, and it was our I think our third string even got in and they scored. So it was a lot of fun. And then now jump forward to playing with Justin. I remember my first time watching him practice. I went over to him and I'm like, "You're going to be better than Marcus." And I was like, I had the fortune to play with him, and I was like, I see everything in Justin to be better than Marcus. And to I remember like that junior year, I didn't play with him too much because I ended up breaking my foot in our third game. But yeah, watching him develop from his freshman year to his sophomore year, my senior year, was one of the biggest like strides I've ever seen someone take of just really getting logged in and focused. And it was so much fun playing with him. Unfortunately, he broke his collarbone and was out for I want to say like 4 games or something like that. But watching him continually develop after I left was so much fun, and seeing what he's doing now with the Chargers is just not that shocking to me. Because I knew Marcus or Justin was going to be a great player.
After your successful college football career at the University of Oregon comes the 2018 NFL Draft. You were rated as one of the top 5 offensive linemen in the 2018 NFL Draft. Got selected by the Detroit Lions in the 5th round, the 153rd overall. You played 3 years in the NFL from 2018 to 2020. And overall, you started 7 games over your first 2 years before becoming the team's primary left tackle in 2020. Pass protection was known for one of your strengths. And you had 38 games played, 18 game starts, started in 11 games in 2020, which was the most for you since 2019. 5 games started. You had head coach Matt Patricia and quarterback Matthew Stafford during your time in the NFL. So my question to you is, what was your experience overall in the NFL? And looking back, any memorable moments that stand out to you the most? And exactly how hard is it to make it in the NFL?
Yeah, so the whole draft process was interesting. Kind of start there. Had a certain team kind of be like, "Oh, he didn't pass a." They thought like I had a lingering foot issue, and apparently they kind of spread that throughout the league, which was quite annoying, even though I was healthy. Um, so that kind of made my stock plunge a little bit. But ultimately, I remember seeing the Detroit area code calling me, and I was like, "Oh, I know exactly what this is." And all those kind of like questions immediately faded away, and I was just so grateful to be drafted because it is such an opportunity, like a once in a lifetime opportunity that most people who play football will never achieve. And it's for me, it was just like I don't even know how to put it into words. It was just such a surreal moment. And I remember getting to Detroit, and under Patricia, it was you're about to work. It was very much that Patriot mindset because he was prior with the Patriots, and it was just a really unique environment to be around. Some guys did not mess with that well because you kind of get to that level and you're more so expected to do things, not necessarily forced to do them. And in that environment, it was a lot of us getting micromanaged, which has its pros and it has its cons. But yeah, my playing time though was really unique. My rookie year, I was our swing tackle, just backing up both left and right tackle, which I was very used to. While at Oregon, I was playing it when I was at Oregon, right tackle for 2 years and left tackle for 2 years, and I was still very comfortable switching stances, which is not easy to do. It's like writing a paper your entire life right-handed, and then now you got to learn how to do it left-handed. It's very much people think it's very easy to kind of like switch because they're both O-line, but to do it efficiently and effectively is a lot harder than people think. And so that was one of my strengths is I can play both sides really well. And so yeah, my rookie year, I think I only started 1 game, which was against the Buffalo Bills, who at that time had one of the best defenses in the league, which I didn't believe it. Because the whole week it's like when I was playing it, no other team really mattered in that league. I just so focused on who we were playing at that week. So going into the Buffalo Bills week, I remember our coaches were like, "This is one of the top defenses in the league," and me be me, who like really only watched or really only played Madden, and then primarily watched college football. I was like, but it's the Buffalo Bills. No way. Like, because at that time, my whole thought process against them was, that's the Bills. They're not good. um, but yeah, going into it, I was humbled very quickly by the reports. I'm like, oh no, this team is really good, especially their defense. And I really like this is my first time starting. I really need to be on top of it. Ended up doing okay. Wasn't my best game by any means. And then going into that next season is kind of a similar thing of start of the season just playing our swing tackle, and then our right tackle Rick Wagner got hurt. So finished the last 4 games. I want to say it was like the last 4 games, starting at right tackle to replace him, and didn't do too bad. Really, the more I played, the more I got comfortable, and just was really starting to like feel myself a lot more. The more I was actually able to get those reps, because reps are so valuable, especially in game reps. And then yeah, jump into my third season, which at that point, it was a unique situation that happened. Detroit decided to go take Big V from the Eagles, and so he was their right tackle for their Super Bowl win. And so I kind of was like, all right, well, we got a competition on our hands because I love to play and I'm not going to try to give this up. So going into it, it was kind of frustrating because they just paid this guy a ton of money. They're going to force him in to play. And so he so happened to get hurt while we were conditioning. And so I had the opportunity to kind of go and play right away, or we'll kind of like that's how I like maintained that right tackle position. Was he got hurt and ended up doing amazing. My third year I played really well. Our first game was against Chicago. I was going against Khalil Mack the entire game. We had a rookie next to me, Jonah Jackson, who was just absolute dog. I love playing by him. But Big V came back, and the work I left out on the field made them realize that I was a pretty solid tackle. So they moved V down to guard. So our right side was me and Big V, and it was just some of the most fun football I've ever had. Him and I, our chemistry was unreal. Both of us knew exactly how each other played, and it made playing so much easier. And yeah, like ended up playing JJ Watt, played against Cam Jordan, multiple future Hall of Fame guys, and didn't give up a sack against them. It was such a cool feeling to like look back and be like, there's 3 to 4 Hall of Famers that I had the opportunity to go against who I completely shut down, and their whole MO is their pass rush. And so I'm like, all right, yeah, like going against certain guys, I'm like, all right, I'm not bad at this. And then my 4th year in the league was a unique one. At that point, Patricia had gotten fired. Our GM changed. And so there's a whole new staff. And for me, it kind of made me think back to my Oregon days when we had the transition from Helfrich to Taggart, and like what it means when a coaching staff changes. So I was just kind of like trying to lock into remembering how that was for me. And from that, a little bit of back and forth because the new staff was very much different from the old one. And I remember at that time I had some back issues, which I didn't know were back issues. My first practice with the team, padded practice during training camp, I tore my hamstring, and I looked at the training staff. I was like, "Hey, I can still do this. Like, I know it's torn. I've torn it before or pulled it." I was like, "Hey, it's for sure pulled, but I can keep practicing." And I did keep practicing. Still balled out. I had like assistant line coach like kind of look at me and was like, "You sure you pulled something?" Because I was shutting guys down in practice, and I'm like, "Yeah, no, it hurts. I can feel it, but that's me. I'm like, I want the competition. I can push through it." And so the next day, the trainers ended up pulling me out of practice, not letting me practice because they wanted me to recover my hamstring. Got it looked at, saw there was some tearing in it. Then I had indeed pulled it, and throughout that recovery process, I had a weird pain down my leg still, and so I just thought it was my hamstring. But as my hamstring was getting better, kind of found out it might be more than that, and I had my agent letting me know, like, "Hey, sounds like you have sciatica." And me being me, I was like, that's an old people thing. Like, I'm too young to have sciatica. What? And that pain just never kind of got any better. And it was just progressively getting worse and worse. So the long process of getting medical, like the proper medical advice in the NFL, eventually led to me finding out that I had my L5S1 disc was pretty much gone to the point where my spine had partially collapsed, crushing my sciatic canal, which holds your sciatic nerve, and that I need a fusion. And that's kind of where I had to do a lot of like life looking at of will I need a fusion? Do I try to keep playing? What do I want? And eventually I went back to Vegas for a little bit to go see my family and picked up my niece. And I just remember the amount of pain I was in. That's when it kind of really dawned on me that football isn't everything. And that one day I know I'd want kids and that I want to be able to actually play with them. And so that's kind of when I really decided that like I'm gonna go ahead with the surgery, and that's when that's the end of my football career because I know I have a lot of life to live, and I don't want to try to continually break down my body to the point where when I do have kids, I can't play with them because I'm in too much pain.
Okay, so when you were with the Detroit Lions, you played there 3 seasons. Your first season was in 2018. You guys went 6-10. Your second year, you guys went 3-12-1. And then your third year, you went 5-11. So do you have a particular or a favorite season that you played in the NFL? And how did that team overall improve throughout the years?
Yeah, I'd say at that time is tough being in Detroit, and I give the Detroit Lions fans so much credit because I mean I witnessed some of the darker years with them, and they were still very supportive. My favorite year would definitely be the last year I played, which was a lot of fun games. We had the game that was it was Todd Gurley when we played at the Falcons, where he scored too early. It was a easy win for the Falcons. I think at one point they had a 99% like win statistic. All they had to do was just kneel it, and Todd Gurley ended up scoring a touchdown. And that's when I had the opportunity to see Matthew Stafford be Matthew Stafford. We just got the ball back with I don't quite remember the exact time left on the clock, but it was one of the most surreal moments just watching us slowly drive down the field and then throw the jump ball to TJ Hawkinson for us to take. No, we were tied at that point. It was for us to tie, and everyone's going crazy. Danny Amendola taking off his helmet, getting us a penalty, and at that point, I didn't realize that touchdown only tied it, and we still had to like that field goal meant something, and so he added 15 yards to our field goal attempt, which kind of annoying. But I mean, we had Matt Prater, and he's one of the best in the business. And so Matt being Matt, or Prater being Prater, kicked that field goal and then gave us the lead. And we are all just so astonished that Todd Gurley ended up running that touchdown in because that gave us the ball back and the chance to win, which we ultimately did. We had another game against the Washington Commanders, which came down to his last-second field goals again, and that was just such a surreal moment of Alex Smith on his like recovery or his comeback season after that horrible leg injury. And then for me, I was going against Chase Young most of that game, which was pretty fun because he was I'm pretty sure number 1 pick or top 3 pick. And so it was a lot of fun playing in, but then it came down to another last-second field goal to win the game. Our defense stuck it. They were out there for so freaking long. I want to say it was like 11 minutes. It was some insane number that they were out on the field for us to come and kick a last-second field goal to win the game. Huge props to our defense for that one. Was there another game of that year that was just I can't remember. But those 2 games were just so much fun to be a part of, and it just really showed the grit of the team of we're going to try to fight and win regardless. And it was just it was fun to be a part of.
What was it like playing with Matthew Stafford?
Stafford was unbelievable. He was a great teammate, great leader, and just someone who, if he told you to do something, it's because he's already done it or he's willing to do it for the betterment of the team. That dude is a tank. I mean, he's knowing some of the injuries he's gone through and see him just take it on as a challenge and smile through the pain and just do anything for his team is just It's awesome.
You're not retired from the NFL. You underwent spiral fusion surgery in December of 2022. How difficult was it for you to have to retire? And how has the recovery process been like for you?
Yeah, it was a really hard choice, but I knew it was the right one, and I knew it was one that had to be made. Um, Even though I didn't want to, I knew it was the right thing to do. And it's been a unique situation. I mean, you spend your entire life, and honestly, like for me, like football was therapeutic. It was as soon as I'm on the field, nothing else matters but what's happening on the field. So it was my opportunity to kind of get a break from reality. And so it was more than just like losing the game. It was also losing like the locker room aspect. It was losing like my therapy. So it was really hard, especially going like due to injury, and it was a year-long recovery that I had. It made it kind of more difficult because every time you feel, or I felt, my back in pain or anything regarding my back, it was kind of just like a little bit of a reminder of you just lost football. And so I really struggled that first year to kind of like get back into my normalness or like just happy. And so it was rough. I was very thankful for the support I had around me because without that, it would have been dang near impossible. But between that and then just like my attitude towards life of just it'll get better, really helped carry me through it. And in that whole process, I had won a trip to Belize, or as an auction that I had won. And from there, everyone was like, "Oh, you need to learn scuba diving." And I was like, "No, that's no." I was terrified of water. Wildlife terrified me. And so it was just like everything I was against. And eventually it was like a weird, hey, well, one of my friends, Torben, came up to me and kind of was like, showed me his photos of diving in Belize. And I was like, you know what? I'm ready to re-challenge myself. I've been down long enough type of situation. I'm like, let's challenge myself and get conquer a fear. So signed up for scuba diving in preparation for this trip to Belize. And I remember doing the online course and was terrified. So I immediately called my brother and I was like, hey, guess what? You're also now signed up because he was going with me. And so I was like, I can't back out if he's there with me, and he can't back out because I'm there. Just that brotherly rivalry type of situation. And so ended up finishing the online course and doing the classroom session. And my first time going underwater and breathing off a regulator, I was at a rec center pool and I saw like band-aids and things like that in the bottom. But still, it was like one of the coolest experiences. And I immediately fell in love. And that's kind of what the driving factor of coming out to Hawaii was to scuba dive. But that was like a really cool situation for me of, hey, like I am absolutely terrified of the water, wildlife, like no thank you. And seeing myself kind of take that head on approach and just now I'm a professional diver was a really cool, rewarding feeling for myself of just knowing where I was in like headspace and just physically before getting into diving after football to now where I feel great and I'm literally like the most calm I've ever been in water because it reminds me of that experience of when I'm on the football field of I don't have my phone, I don't have access to the outside world for that little bit of time for usually about like an hour. That's now like my peace. It's where I go for therapy of just me. I that's diving for me. It's really my ability, or it's like my home to like disconnect a little bit because I always have my phone on me. So it's really hard to kind of set it down and get away from it. But when it comes to diving or when I was playing football, when I'm on the field, it's like nothing else matters when you're doing it. So having that kind of feeling back has been awesome.
I'm happy to hear that you've, are recovering pretty
Yeah,
well and that your mind and your, body is, you know, getting back together on things. So I'm definitely happy and proud of you and your success with that.
thank
But
you.
absolutely. Now I am quite curious, looking back on your career and
Mhm.
knowing how far you've come in your career with, being in the NFL and going through college and just playing football in itself. Is there anything that you wish you would have known when you first started out in your career?
I would say there are, but it's kind of hard. because all the steps I took did end up leading me to the NFL. So like there's situations for me where I look back in hindsight, I'm like, oh, that'd be nice to know, but maybe not. But I'd say easily the biggest thing that I wish I started younger would probably be, I don't know actually. Probably just stretching more, things like that, or like I don't know. That's a hard one because it's very much, I was just so focused on the moment when I played and then just try to learn as much as I can. And through like my failures on the field, I feel like that's where I kind of learned the most, not necessarily through my success. So yeah, that's a tough one for me to answer.
And for your future and what you've been doing, since your football career has done
Mhm.
for you, what are the future goals? What are the future plans for your career?
Yeah, so one off the top of my head is I'm headed to Honduras for a month in January to go get my instructor certificate for scuba diving. And with that, I just want to become part of a program called PAC, which is Professional Athlete Community. And so it's just a bunch of like former NFL players, NBA players, and now it's just recently expanded to like UFC fighters, things like that. And it's a huge community. Um, but I really want to teach other guys about scuba diving because a lot of guys that I knew throughout my time playing were terrified of water, similar to me, and just wanted to show them they can kind of harness that fear and kind of use it as a strength and just for me teach them something that they're uncomfortable with and kind of help them build confidence because I know a lot of guys when they retire kind of go through that phase of lost identity and lose that confidence that they had when they were playing. So I just want to give them the resource of like, hey, come let me like show you about something that you're terrified about, teach you a lot about it, and then show you it's not that scary and kind of help them build their confidence back. And so that's one goal I really am looking forward to kind of slowly chip away at. And also, I love diving. I just want to introduce it to as many guys who have similar backgrounds and like situations that I did. So that's like one of my big goals right now.
And in your career, who are
Mhm.
you mostly thankful for that has gotten you to the place that you're at right now?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's family's always the easiest answer to say, but outside of family, I mean, in high school, easily like my head coach, Brian Castro, and my O-line coach, Coach JJ, because they saw the potential in me that I didn't quite see yet. And they really challenged me. And then getting to college, my teammate Cameron Hunt, who he was our left guard, but he just pushed me more than I could have pushed myself. He was always there, making sure I was learning as much as I could. Stayed with me after practice, teaching me. He was one grade above me, but he was really a huge, huge part of my learning career playing football out of Oregon. And then getting to the league, I'd say there's just so many people. You get to that point, you have truly an entire staff dedicated to each, like for the players, just making them as best as they can. So like the strength staff, dietitians, just everybody, like the trainers, they really do a phenomenal job of just trying to make sure you can be the best that you can be. So truly is like teammates, staff, coaching staff. When I got to the league, it was just all of them were a huge part of my growth.
Now, earlier you had mentioned about just what the pre-draft process was and what they might have said about you coming to the 2018 NFL draft. But I'm quite curious for the future generation and for people who are in your position coming out of, college or even starting in high school.
Mhm.
What advice would you say to them as far as how tough it is to play in the NFL?
Yeah, it's the NFL is a different beast from college because like you go against a second string guy in college and you immediately can tell the difference. Oftentimes you can understand real quickly why they're not starting. NFL, it's like you can go against their fourth string and he's going to be one of the best guys you've gone against. It's insane. It's just so much more consistently great. And that's a huge challenge for a lot of guys because they're not used to just consistently going against someone who's great. And for even me, as like as a whole lineman, especially because you are playing every single play. As a D lineman, they're subbing out like crazy. It's a little jealous, but yeah, you as an O lineman just have to really embrace for the suck because it's gonna be miserable. It's gonna be not fun. but you got to hunker down there and just realize why you're out there. And for me, one of my favorite things was just accepting that I'm happily will get hurt to make sure my quarterback, to make sure my running back, or anybody behind me is safe. And that's something I took a lot of pride in, of just being willing to sacrifice myself to make sure someone else is protected. And I feel like most guys nowadays kind of understand that better. Well, as a whole lineman, I mean, most whole linemen kind of, that's what is expected of them. But I say really just embracing how miserable it can be.
And what can you say that you have enjoyed about just the game of football in itself?
Yeah, I definitely will like kind of circle back to where we started, just the culture. Having guys from literally all over is one of the most incredible things, because it really helps you appreciate other people's backgrounds, where they come from, and just their culture. Because say, for instance, I never played football, stayed in Utah, things like that. It's a pretty boring culture there. But yeah, it really opens your eyes to a lot of people's backgrounds, and just makes you become, or at least made me become really aware of guys' situations, things like that, and just helps me be more empathetic towards people, because I didn't grow up rich or anything close to that, but I knew some guys who I played with who went to like the nicest private schools, to some guys who went to some of the toughest schools to go to, and just kind of see them find that commonality of football is just, I feel like we need more of that. And it's really cool to just see guys have that and be able to bond over like honestly a kid's game. For me, has always been so fascinating about football.
Well, what can I say about your career? I'm so proud of you and your success. I know that you've overcome a lot of adversities, and you've worked hard and you've triumphed all. So I'm definitely proud of you and your success. And it's such a pleasure to have you here. I'm very thankful for this interview that we have with each other, and wish you all the best, brother.
I appreciate you so much, Justin.
And that concludes another conversation with Justin. You can reach Justin Baptiz on any of his social media handles listed here. So, until we meet again, remember, it's Baptiz by Fire.